Hey, in this video I'm going to put myself on display and tell you about things that I have done in the past that I now know are mistakes. There are 12 mistakes to be specific, and just to tease a bit, mistake number 4 is a generic one. Mistake number 7 is a bit controversial. Mistake number 9 is almost professional suicide. And the last 3 mistakes reveal some really deep mindset issues. Let's go! And as a home recording musician, I know that you will benefit from my mixing guide. The link is in the description. Go to subphotic.com/mixing or just hit the link below. There I have broken down my mixing process into 10 steps and I have 15 tips for a better mix. It's a fast read, not an ebook. 4 pages, takes you 5 minutes to go through, and it will give your sound quality a solid boost. Mistake number 1 in your home studio is a lack of feng shui. And what I mean specifically about that is that before you run along and buy all the blinky stuff, the MIDI controllers and such, get a green plant. It will really boost your creativity, I think. I have spent many years in a dark room tweaking buttons and knobs, but you really get inspiration when you have a nice, clean setup. I don't think geniuses work best in chaos. I think they work best when it's clean and tidy and nice. It doesn't mean that you have to spend a lot of money on bling, but just keep it tidy and thank me later. Mistake number 2 is not handling your equipment with care. And this comes especially down to cables. Make sure that whenever you stow away cables that you wrap them nicely together. Don't leave them scattered around. Also, be nice to your equipment. Every now and then do some dust wiping, and your loudspeakers is what goes on last and goes off first, because you don't want that. It may eventually damage your speakers. So be careful about that, and also be careful about volume. One of your most valuable pieces of equipment are your ears. Use them with care. Mistake number 3 is not handling your files with care. Have you ever made a song or a sketch and just called it not a good idea? Have a folder where you store all your sketches. Have a folder for your finished songs. Have a folder for your collaborations, and so on and so forth. Make a system that you can live with, and take the time to make a good system. Think about all the categories of music that you make. Maybe you make music in different genres. Map it out, have a system. And not to mention, make backups. And there's a saying that if you haven't saved a file in 3 different places, it doesn't exist. Back up your files. Even though you think that they're not valuable now, they might be quite valuable 10 years down the line. You want to be able to go back to your older projects and take a look at what you were thinking back then. Keep your files. Mistake number 4, and here comes the generic advice: don't overspend. I know many musicians that are really good with this, that don't overspend. I'm not one of them, unfortunately. I spend way too much money on plugins, gear, microphones, what have you. But I'm not the worst, I think. I've seen worse. Temptations will come. There are a lot of great looking and great sounding equipment. There are a lot of great sounding monitors, audio interfaces, audio converters, compressors, and the marketing. The marketing is so good. You just want to get it all. Gas, gear acquisition syndrome. It's a real thing. I've suffered under it. Maybe you have. Fight it, but not entirely. You need something. You also need some stuff. That actually leads us to mistake number 5, which is underspending. Sometimes I've thought that I can get away with not spending money on important stuff, such as acoustic treatment, monitoring, studio monitors. I've tried cheap ones. Maybe the cheap ones aren't that bad, but up until a certain point, it makes sense to spend some. If you have some, you need maybe $100 mic at least. You may need a $100 to $200 audio interface, like basic stuff. And when you download my mixing guide, subphotic.com/mixing, you will also get a gear guide, my suggestions of gear that you could acquire in different categories. So it's just an overview, a couple of pages, just a list. But at a bare minimum, you should have a regular version of some sort of DAW, not just the light version. So if you're, for example, on Ableton, you should at least have the Ableton standard. Of course, try out DAWs, try out the free ones, get the demos, but pick a DAW and stick with it. That's my advice. Mistake number 6 is bad acoustic treatment and monitoring. So you need, at a bare minimum, some decent monitor speakers. If you can't afford those, get a decent pair of headphones. Something in the range of $100 to $200 should be plenty. Here's a couple of recommendations. Bear Dynamics, Vocals, Sennheisers. They're all great. And when it comes to acoustic treatment, you don't need to go overboard. Check out this video if you want to see how to make an acoustic panel. This is one of my first videos. It's kind of low key, but I think I get the point across. You can make some acoustic panels DIY, or you can buy them from music stores. They're a bit on the high end when it comes to price. You can use acoustic foam, and you can use mattresses, duvets, furniture. Heavy furniture is good, like couches and bookshelves. Just make sure that you're not in an empty room without curtains. It's like the worst thing. With plastered walls or brick walls, the sound waves will bounce all over the place. Have a good carpet on the floor. Something hanging down from the ceiling is good. The more, the better. But just to play devil's advocate for a moment, it can also be too much. It can really affect the feng shui in your room. If you had to choose between acoustic treatment and inspiration, I would go inspiration all day long. And then suffer from all the sound waves that are bouncing around in the room. I would much rather just use the headphones and be done with it and have inspiration, because I can't create in an environment that is suffocating. But that's just me. Maybe that's not you. You just have to try out. And if you like this video so far, hit the like button. And the 7th mistake is a bit controversial, but it has to do with genre, and it's this. You're only inspired by music from the same genre and style of music that you're producing or making yourself. Now that's something that I'm a sinner of big time. For many years, I've been listening to rap music, and almost only rap music. No jazz, no funk, no soul, no R&B, no classical music, no country, no reggae, no dub, just boom bap hip hop. And then I've been making boom bap hip hop myself, and I've sounded just like everybody else. And then in the later years, I've started to broaden my musical horizon, started to listening to a lot of different music and discovering heaps and tons of music that I didn't know about even. And when coming back to the studio and started making music again with the perspectives of different genres and flavors and way to do and way to act, you come in with a whole different vibe, a whole different approach to making music, and then you take it on to your own genre. You get a different sound, you get your own flavor, because it's a blend of different things. Mistake number 8, fix it in the mix. And the notion about making something that is by nature broken and then trying to fix it later on is like building your house on quicksand. It's like eventually your house is going to be really underground. A good approach is to select the best possible sounds, use the best possible mic technique, and do the best composition as possible, thinking about filling up the frequency spectrum, for example. And that way, when come times for mixing, you only need to do small tweaks, and that's the recipe for a great result and a professional mix and master. Don't hire a mixing engineer. Learn how to mix. And when you're ready, when your mixes are becoming more and more professional sounding, and when you have trained your ears to recognize a good mix and set it apart from a bad mix, then go hire a mixing engineer if it makes sense for you and your project, and that you get some return of your investment, because it's not cheap. Sometimes they take a package fee, sometimes they do it by the hour, but no matter how you twist and turn that fact, you are going to spend a lot of money, especially if you're planning on releasing songs on a regular basis. You really need to have a plan on how you are going to earn back the money you spend on a mixing engineer. Wait until you have at least mastered the basics of mixing yourself, because that way you will get more out of your money that you spend on your mixing engineer. But by all means, send me your tracks and I'll mix it for a fee. No, I'm just kidding. I acknowledge the fact that this really is a mistake, and you should be patient and learn the basics first. That's my advice. Mistake number 10, 11, and 12 dives a bit deep into the mindset of being a music maker in your home. And this is stuff that I've thought a lot about. So here we go. Mistake number 10, and this goes all the way back to when I was 14, 15 years old, overestimating the impact of the current production. So you have a song idea and you start making the song, and you're thinking that this song will hit the radios, it will hit Spotify playlists now the Spotify playlist, it will go viral. So you think that you have to be really careful of not breaking the law. You can't have uncleared samples. You can't do this, you can't do that. And you make up all these restrictions to your creativity, and you end up making something bland and boring instead. I've struggled with this. And when I started out rapping, I couldn't use other people's beats. That was my mindset back then. I couldn't just make songs on instrumentals. For example, I had some Mobb Deep records. I had some Pete Rock records. I really wanted to make some songs on those beats, but instead I started making beats myself. And now I thank myself that I did that, because otherwise I might not have gone into the beat making game. But anyways, my development as an artist really stalled because I had to do everything myself. I couldn't go get help anywhere. I couldn't steal, which I know people do all the time now. They just go to YouTube and rip an instrumental and make songs out of that. And I think that's a great thing to do, actually, because you learn how to rap, you practice, you clock in the hours that it takes, and you won't go viral initially starting off. I had this idea that if I release one song, it will go instantly viral, it will be a hit, and so I vastly overestimated my impact. And on the flip side, you shouldn't underestimate it either, because at some point when you get this thing locked in, there are possibilities on the other side. Just make music. That's the most important thing. Mistake number 11. I've done this a lot. Been sitting there and waiting for inspiration to come. I don't feel like making music today. Inspiration is not here, so I'll just fire up my PlayStation 1. My PlayStation 1. I think I started there, and then it was 2, 3, and now 4. I think I want to play Red Dead Redemption 2. I think it was Stephen King who said that if inspiration doesn't come to you, you go after it with a sledgehammer. I like that quote. I think it was Stephen King. If you've heard it before, but it's from someone else, or I butchered it, please let me know in the comments and correct me. Creativity is a muscle. Inspiration comes as a result of your previous creative activity. I noticed that whenever I have a creative routine that I just, it's this time at the day, now I settle down and I make some music. If I do that as a routine, I never run out of ideas. I never run out of inspiration. Writer's block is just a myth. I've had writer's block many times in the past, but that's just a result of laziness, that I've just procrastinated and done other stuff because inspiration didn't strike. And I've discovered that if you just chase inspiration, you will catch it. Creativity is a muscle and you need the reps. And before the final mistake, I just want you to hit the like button if you had anything out of this video. Hit the subscribe if you want more videos like these, and let me know in the comments, what's your biggest mistake in your music journey? Mistake number 12, blaming other than yourself when results aren't coming as expected. You made some music, you've put a lot of effort into it, you've released it, and you see that there are few views, almost no Spotify plays, no one is sharing your music, nobody is commenting or liking when you post on social media. And I've had a lot of empathy and sympathy with myself and feeling a bit sorry for myself because people don't appreciate my art as they should, because it's my art and it's good, it's quality. At least in my own head, it's perfectly legit to have those feelings. Those are real feelings. I've been there a lot of times. Anyways, the workaround for this feeling is to focus only on the things that you can control. I can control how much music I make. I can control how well I mix it. I can control whether I say yes or no to collaborators, and so on and so forth. What I can't control is how people will respond to my music. I can't control how many people will share my music. I can't control how many plays I get or how many views I get, how popular I become. I can just control what I do myself. So I can choose to make a song a week or a song a month and be consistent and publish it and share it with the world, or not. And if I choose not to do any of those things, I'm at least guaranteed I will never make it in music. I will never get any listeners. I will never get any fans if I don't publish anything. That's a choice. Thank you so much for watching if you're still here. And before you go, check out one of these two videos and I hope I see you there. Peace!